A little later, you will witness the painful story and terrible truths of the Titanic ship. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel and like the video before going to the video. Enjoy watching. The Titanic was slowly sinking. A 25-year-old young man named Jack Phillips was in charge of the telegraph. He did not leave his post until the communications room was flooded. He acted heroically until the last moment, but his efforts were in vain. Titanic would be found exactly 73 years after this incident, and its mysterious story would begin then. In 1912, newspapers were reporting about a ship called Titanic that was about to embark on its maiden voyage. Titanic was no ordinary ship. It was said that even God couldn't screw it up. He was challenging everything on Earth, even the Creator. So why was this ship produced? Let's answer this question first. White Star Line, the company that produced the Titanic ship, was behind rival companies at that time. And to get ahead, they wanted to design a ship that had never been designed before. A huge, luxurious, safe, and comfortable ship. In 1908, the company officially established a workers' army. As a result of intense work, the huge ship RMS Olympic was launched. It was the largest ship ever seen in human history. This 45-ton ship had the capacity to carry 1,000 people. But the company did not stop there. Just a few months after the RMS Olympic was launched, a much larger ship called the RMS Titanic was produced. Titanic aroused serious curiosity. 200,000 people gathered to see the launch. This ship, weighing 15 tons, was equipped with the most magnificent items. The problem is that they spent a lot of money on vanity, but they didn't give as much importance to technology as vanity. At that time, it had 4 propeller ships with higher maneuverability were being built, but the White Star Line company wanted the Titanic to be famous for its ostentation rather than technology. Titanic was about to set sail from England for its maiden voyage. Their destination was New York. The ship took action at noon. As the ship was leaving the port, operators were warned that there might be icebergs during the southern voyage. These were one of the warnings they were used to. In the Atlantic Sea, these warnings were generally considered ordinary. At 21:30 in the evening, a ship ahead of the Titanic reported via telegraph that it saw large ice mountains around the route it was passing. The warning was received, but was not delivered to the captain, because at that time, the attendants were busy conveying the messages that the first-class passengers wanted to send to those waiting for them in New York. About 2 hours later, the lookout in the Titanic's watchtower saw something dark, not clearly visible, at the front of the ship. He rang the ship's bell 3 times and telephoned the bridge. First Officer Murdoch gave the order to quickly steer the ship. Even though its speed was 40 kilometers per hour, it was impossible to stop that huge mass. Just 37 seconds later, at 23:40, the ship hit the iceberg hard. The iceberg cut through the ship like a razor. Ship officials identified the damage to the ship and wanted to fix it. They were shocked when they went down to the compartment to check. The ship was taking in 400 tons of water per minute, and after that moment, it was not possible to save the ship. All they had to do was abandon ship quickly. The captain announced that women and children would be rescued first. The passengers were woken up immediately. Now there was only panic on the ship. They had to call for help immediately, and more signals were sent to the surrounding ships. During the voyage, the telegraph was used for wealthy passengers. Warnings from other ships were ignored, and efforts were made to provide faster service to wealthy passengers. For example, the California ship, which was ahead of the Titanic, could not move forward due to icebergs, and they decided to spend the night where they were. Before going to bed, the operator of the California ship said to his Titanic ship, "We cannot move forward. There are too many icebergs where we are." He warned, "Be careful," but received an unexpected response. The Titanic operator was so overwhelmed by the messages that he responded to this warning by saying, "Shut up, I'm too busy right now." After the Titanic began to sink, a call for help was made to the California ship, but no response was received. The nearest ship that responded to the call for help was 4 hours away. There were approximately 2 hours left before the Titanic sank. They realized that there was nothing they could do anymore. Meanwhile, the officer of the California ship saw a rocket being fired from the Titanic. He warned the captain that he had been thrown. Due to the lack of maritime regulations at the time, Captain Lord was confused, and did not know whether these cartridges were emergency cartridges or not. He ordered his crew to keep watch and send more signals to other ships, then retired back to bed. At 01:50, 3 more cartridges were fired from the Titanic. The crew of the California ship reported to the captain that the Titanic looked interesting in the water and that it was levitating at about 45 degrees. At 2:15, the captain was informed that the ship was no longer visible. One of the ships that set out early in the morning arrived in the region. Some of the lucky people that day escaped the disaster. The reason why the Titanic ship sank can be thought of as the use of cheap materials. But this is not the case. Old-style iron rivets were used on the Titanic ship. As a result of the research, it was determined that these rivets were very strong. If they had received a side impact at those speeds, it would have been impossible for the ship to sink. But the damage did not come from a side blow. It was formed by friction. Titanic brushed against an iceberg, and it ripped like paper. According to some experts, the weather that day was truly strange. The sea was incredibly calm. There were frequent weather changes. That's why objects in the sky appeared clear, and those on the ground appeared blurry. For this reason, the iceberg might not have been visible. The sun broke 2 hours after the Titanic sank. 1,500 people, mostly men, lost their lives. Captain Smith was one of them. In fact, this was his last duty, and he was going to retire from his profession. Unfortunately, he died on the path he set out with the dream of living a nice retirement. Mothers who put their children to sleep 4 hours ago, and fathers who cared about their families died in a terrible way that morning. There are actually many unknowns and pain behind this short story of the Titanic. If you liked the video, don't forget to comment and subscribe. If you don't want to miss similar videos, turn on notifications.